planted aquariums versus non-planted aquariums. Okay guys, so if you haven't guessed already, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the difference between planted aquariums and non-planted aquariums. So if you're new to the hobby, or if you've been in a hobby for quite some time, then you more than likely will have come to the crossroads where you're thinking, do I go with the planted aquarium, do I go with the non-planted aquarium, which is right, which is wrong, what's the pros, what's the cons, what ultimately, what do I do? And you might be tempted to do what I did when joining the hobby and go down the route of the non-planted aquarium, the artificial aquarium. You might be surprised at the benefits that a planted aquarium would bring. So before we get started, leave a comment below if you've got a planted aquarium. Let me know what your favourite plant is, and if you haven't got a planted aquarium and you've got an artificial aquarium, so with your synthetic or your plastic plants, then let me know what your favourite fish. So to kick things off, then we'll look at my personal favourite, which is going to be the planted aquarium, and we'll go in with the first pro then. Number one, the plants will actually help your carbon dioxide or oxygen levels, or the cycle within the tank. So you might be surprised to know, you might not be surprised to know, you might just never have actually thought about it, but your live plants, much like live plants within the environment, are constantly, through photosynthesis, taking in carbon dioxide and giving off oxygen that helps the little swimmers within the fish tank. So it's a bit more weird than I thought it was going to, but helps the fish within the fish tank then thrive and really keep those oxygen levels high as much as they can. So number two, plants actually serve as a food source within that tank as well. And like their synthetic friends, then as the plants come into maturity, or in some cases as they're young as well, some fish, particularly the herbivores, some fish will actually eat the plants and use that as a food source as well. So you constantly got this other food source in the tank that you might not have noticed before, or you might not have had before. So you've obviously got that to keep in mind as well. What I would say, if I'm going to add to that, is keep an eye on the dying or the dead leaves as well. You don't really want a plant that's already past its maturity and has unfortunately died. You don't want that decaying and breaking down within your tank, because that's just going to add to the overall bio load as well. Number three, live plants actually help in the battle against the dreaded algae. The plants actually use nitrates from the water, which is also a food source for algae. So if the plants are eating that food or taking the nitrates out of the water, then that doesn't also leave them there then for the algae to grow on or to feast on later. So having live plants in your tank can actually help reduce the potential for a buildup of algae. The fourth one, and this is probably going to be a subjective one, but the overall look of the tank. So anyone like me, or I'm just speaking on my behalf, I suppose, I prefer the look of a live plant or planted tank, if you will. It just looks a bit more natural. It has a bit more of a feel to it, if you will, that everything is alive and everything is adding to this little ecosystem or little system that you've got set up within your home or within your fish studio or wherever it is that you've got set up. And having the artificial plants takes it away from that for me. Number five, again a very close one, the long run, and this is probably where it becomes a little bit more difficult, because technically artificial plants never die. They may break, they may bust away during cleaning, during maintenance, so the fish may beat them up a little bit, but in the long run I like the fact that some live plants will continuously grow, they'll continue to grow, develop, they'll continue to send out new growth, and you essentially get this continuous offspring of plants you can take away, propagate. You can put them in other tanks, you can just replant them in that tank as well to create more bushiness from there. So that's 5 pros for the planted tank, which you may or may not recognize that that's my preference, but let's show a little bit of love to the artificial ones then. So number one, almost the complete opposite to number one of the planted tank. It has no effect on the oxygen or carbon dioxide levels. So like I said, in extreme scenarios, in extreme circumstances, then you know, it can throw the cycle off a little bit, having the plant constantly changing things with carbon dioxide and oxygen. And whilst it's majority of the time a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing. With artificial plants, however, that's not a problem. It's an artificial plant. It's constantly in there. Number 2, no specific lighting requirements. And this was probably something that I had to get my head around quite early on when we started keeping live plants. When you've got artificial plants, you almost take for granted the fact you can have your lights on all day during the day. You can turn them off when you go to bed. You don't have to worry about how long they're on for. You don't have to worry about the strength of the bulb. You don't have to worry about what part of the cycle they're in. There's really not an awful lot to think about. Yeah, okay, you've got the algae to think about, but in general, it's not going to have any impact on your artificial plants. With artificial plants, you put it in, turn the light on, hey presto, again, good looking for plants all year round. Number 3, almost very similar to the lighting requirements, the special nutrients that are involved with live plants as well. So artificial plants, like I said before, you pop them in, you pop the base down, pop the gravel over the top, job done. Your artificial plants are in, they're looking good, they're making the fish look good, not a problem at all. Live plants, however, different story again. Much like the lighting, those plants are going to need food. And as quick as you can pop them in, number 4, they can be easily cleaned. So again, if an artificial plant's showing a lot of algae growing on it, it's not looking very good because there's a lot of dirt around there, you just pull that sucker out and give them a good swill under the sink. Again, be careful on the type of water they're using and make sure that it's nice and clean going back in. However, if you was on water change day, you could just use the water from the tank. It's not a problem at all. But it's a lot easier to clean. You pull it out, clean it, pop it back in, not a problem. With the live plants, however, if I start pulling my live plants out constantly, they're going to get stressed. They're going to get annoyed because they're being moved. And then lastly, number 5, it doesn't add anything to the waste load within the tank. So live plants die, they live, they die, they go on, they decay, and so on. Artificial plants, however, they don't have that cycle, so they never really die. They break, potentially, if your fish are beating them up. And potentially when you're doing maintenance and you're pulling them out as well, they could break. But your artificial plants will never start adding to your bio load, I suppose. They'll never break down. You'll have all these little bits in the column and so on going into your filter and all that jazz. So in summary, that's a very quick 5 on 5. 5 pros against live plants, or for live plants, 5 pros for artificial. So in closing, it feels really good to be back. This is the first video we've done on the channel now, and I think 12 months, maybe even 2 years, I'm not too sure. And it's going to be more of the format going forward. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below of your favourite plant, and if you're not into plants and you're into your artificial plants, what fish are you keeping? Let me know what fish you've currently got kicking around. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's brought a little bit more of a light on what it is you can expect from a planted tank versus an artificial tank. And yeah, from me, happy fish keeping.